Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the exceptionally rare Water-type Pokemon Squirtle, the Tiny Turtle Pokémon, its equally rare evolution Wartortle, the Turtle Pokémon, and its equally rare final evolution Blastoise, the Shellfish Pokémon. A classic among starter Pokemon, and definitely a defensive force to be reckoned with, the members of the Squirtle family are adorable but powerful reptiles that can more than make a splash in battle if given the opportunity. Squirtle have blue-furred bodies with 4 short stubby limbs with 3 tiny toes each, as well as a curled tail and a bulbous head that looks back at others with small nostrils, a large mouth, and wide red eyes. Their entire torso is encased within a hard shell with a beige-colored belly and brown outer form, a series of grooves on its surface that actually help to make them better swimmers. Their evolved form, Wartortle, possess the same general body form with their shell and limbs, but their fur is a richer, darker blue color, and they have visible claws on their upper limbs. Their tail has a much longer, more curled and wavier form to it, being a much lighter shade of blue compared to the rest of their body, and they now have a pair of rudder-like ears that help them with steering and grant them a luxurious look overall. Their final evolution, Blastoise, retain a similar body form with claws in both hands and feet and a milder shade of blue fur on their bodies, but their beige underside has now spread up to their chin area as well, and their ears and tail are much shorter and more basic in form. In addition, they now have a pair of large metallic cannons that jut out from their backs, which they primarily use to launch their strongest water-type attacks. Lastly, it is noted that Blastoise do possess a Mega Evolution, and in this state, their arms acquire small shelled forms that are connected to small water cannons like they had on their back, providing their arms with their own form of artillery fire. In addition, the 2 cannons on their back fuse together into a single, much larger cannon, which allows them to deliver devastating strikes in battle, far surpassing that they can normally wield. The members of the Squirtle family, though a bit hard to properly breed due to gender ratio being skewed 7-to-1 in favor of males, are classic starter Pokemon used in places like the Kanto region that are friendly and easy to train and get along with, and bring plenty of defense to the battlefield where other starter Pokemon may fail to. These creatures are born with an extremely soft shell that forms as their back skin bulges up and rises after birth, but it quickly hardens within an hour or so after being born, being hard enough by that point to repel any poking fingers that might try to examine them. These creatures specialize in being able to use their internal water reserves to attack with moves like Bubble and Water Gun, using their mouths as cannons in their early stages of development, and overall being fairly simple creatures to understand and train. As turtles, these creatures do spend a lot of time in the water, but when out of it, their hard shells serve them well in protecting them, and this is directly shown in their decent physical defenses compared to a lot of other water-type Pokemon. It also enables them to learn rare moves like the devastating Skull Bash attack naturally, and as a whole, their simple forms complement them well, and making them a decent hazard to deal with if one does not have the right elemental counters to tackle them directly. Because these creatures are so in tune with their own powers and the natural world around them, they generally have access to the rare Torrent ability as their only base ability. Those that are able to use their skin to absorb moisture from their environment to heal and restore their energy, however, can also have access to Rain Dish as a hidden ability, and while Mega Evolved, the tremendous firing power of the cannon on their backs of Mega Blastoise can give them access to the Mega Launcher ability instead. In looking at their stats regarding Blastoise, it can be said that despite their imposing forms, these creatures do not have a lot of stamina compared to other water types, and their offenses leave something to be desired, so the base HP, attack, and special attack stats are below average for a fully evolved water-type Pokemon. On the other hand, they are strong enough to be able to haul their bulk around and fire their attacks relatively quickly, and their powerful shell provides them some useful defenses, so their base defense, special defense, and speed stats are all above average for a fully evolved Pokemon of their type. As such, while they might not be able to hit exceptionally hard, these reptiles can certainly take a hit and keep right on going, proving to be an imposing physical barrier for most to have to deal with using only conventional attacks. As highlighted already, Squirtle are relatively defenseless for the first hour or so of their life, as the shells are still quite soft, but after this time, they readily harden into a form that makes prodding fingers bounce right off of them, and this shell serves 2 important purposes for these creatures. For one thing, it acts primarily as a form of defense for them, for if these creatures feel threatened in any way, or are trying to sneakily attack a prey item from afar, they will retract their limbs and head into their shell, packing them tightly inside, and will attack from afar by spraying foamy bubbles and jets of water from their mouth and shell space to defend themselves. On the other hand, the curved form of the shell and the grooves that are on its surface also help to make the shell more aerodynamic in the water, allowing these creatures to swim more effectively, aiding them quickly in escaping from the few predators that can easily handle and bite through their shells. It is duly noted as well that, because of the way their internal forms are built, these creatures and the rest of their family are unable to learn the Bubble Beam attack naturally under normal circumstances, which can limit their access to decently strong moves over time, but they can more than make up for this with the surprising accuracy of their attacks and the strong defenses their shell provides. As Squirtle evolve into Wartortle, they gain an extra EV point yield in special defense from just their 1 in defense, and their forms change at least a little bit to make them slightly more powerful, though they mainly stay the same in terms of their overall behavior. Interestingly, these creatures are able to move faster in the water and maintain their balance and direction by using their elongated ears and tail as rudders to help with steering, giving them both good agility and control in the water that greatly aids them in capturing prey, combining it with their penchant for hiding silently in the water until a prey item approaches, at which point they attack suddenly and lunge forward to grab their meal in a flash. They will still pull their limbs and head into their shell if they are surprised or threatened, but their tail is now too large to do this properly, so it will always stick out at least a little bit when retracted. The fur on their tail is actually used as a float for them to keep them buoyant in the water, the luxurious fur being packed with air before they dive in order to keep them from diving too deeply and allow for a quick ascent in the case of a predator approaching. This tail though also has a symbolic importance to it as a sign of longevity, and its luxurious form is not only beautiful, but tends to grow more so as they age, the pigmentation in the tail fur being concentrated over time to give them a progressively deeper shade of blue coloration over time. What is particularly fascinating about these creatures is the fact that they actually have a special enzyme in their body that helps to restore and repair damaged cells in their body over time that lengthens their lifespan tremendously, allowing them to live for centuries or even longer, with some legends stating that they can live for as long as 10,000 years. While it cannot be said this is truly the case or not, it has helped make them popular as long-living pets and are fun to play with, and it can be easy to tell how old they are outside of their fur color, as these creatures will naturally accumulate scars on their shell as they age, and, like others, will become slower as they get older, causing moss to start to grow on their shells. In this sense, the presence of a Wartortle like this is usually an indicator of a peaceful environment with few dangerous predators. Either way, they lose this regenerative compound as they evolve, so there's a trade-off between them evolving and not doing so, but which pathway is to be taken is ultimately up to the Pokemon and any human that might own them. When Wartortle evolve into Blastoise, not only does the EVO change from 1 in defense and 1 in special defense to just 3 in special defense, but their anatomy changes to make them much more effective as fighters in a battle. While Squirtle and Wartortle use their mouths as their primary form of delivering water-type attacks, in order to increase the power of their strikes without putting their digestive and respiratory systems in danger, these creatures release their attacks through a pair of organic steel cannons on their back that are hooked directly up to their water reserve chambers. These organic cannons can allow these reptiles to fire water from their bodies with enough force to blast through steel plates with ease, and can hit targets from an exceptional degree away with great accuracy and speed, making them dangerous sharpshooters to be feared. This is further made into an issue, as it allows these creatures to fire pure light energy from the cannons by drawing it from the outside air, allowing them to learn the flash cannon attack naturally with a bit of help, increasing their overall versatility immensely alongside possessing perhaps one of the strongest Hydro Pump attacks accessible to any Pokemon. However, all this power does not come without consequence, because in order to use their cannons to their fullest, these creatures have to undergo an extreme change in their weight, becoming immensely heavy so they can readily plant their feet, whose claws are now flattened on the underside, and brace themselves before firing to take the brunt of the extreme recoil that comes with firing their attacks. This can be used to their advantage, however, because if their projectile attacks are not working, Blastoise can use their own bodies as a weapon, either by using their immense weight to body press and crush opponents, or by tucking in their limbs and firing their massive bodies with their cannons to blast off and impact an opponent with massive force. This can allow these creatures to learn moves like Bulldoze and Earthquake via TM, and as a whole, makes them far more versatile than their basic water-type assignment might lead some to believe. It is lastly noted that Blastoise are one of the few Pokemon that are known to be capable of undergoing the process of Mega Evolution when they are in possession of a Blastoise Knight. In this form, the metal cannons that are on their back fuse together into a single giant cannon that is able to fire powerful shots of water that can strike targets from up to 6 miles away and with incredible strength, while a pair of additional cannons are formed on their arms, allowing them to attack from multiple angles and with multiple sources to deal far more damage than normal. Plus, they gain additional armor on their bodies, increasing both their offenses and defenses in the process as the Mega Evolution energy flows through them and energizes their form. Compared to some other Mega Evolutions though, these beasts do not undergo any serious change in the demeanor when they Mega Evolve, making them surprisingly easy to control and thus a treat for young trainers that are just getting a hand on the process of Mega Evolution and the negative consequences that can sometimes come with it. In terms of stats, this sudden physical transformation and the increase of the power of both their armor's effectiveness and the overall offensive might has the effect of slightly increasing their base special defense stat, moderately increasing their base attack and defense stats, and astronomically increasing their base special attack stat, while the acquisition of the Mega Launcher ability gives them an edge in using moves like Water Pulse and Flash Cannon, and ultimately makes these turtles into devastating offensive threats worth fearing from afar. Though they might seem relatively placid and easy to work with, the members of the Squirtle family are still powerful fighters that can definitely bring the might needed to make for good starter Pokemon. They might be more for defense than offense for the most part, but that only makes them that much more of a threat to have to handle in a long-winded fight. If you can manage to get a hold of one of these beasts, do yourself a favor and make sure that you stay out of the way when they attack. Otherwise, when fully evolved, these creatures can more than blast you away to Kingdom Come with their water-type attacks. If they don't choose to Skull Bash you instead and deliver a strike, more than likely to break your own skull, even if theirs is just fine afterwards. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description. With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.